Oh, sing, children of the world, come together and hear the call. Sing, children of the world, Islam will unite us all. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wallahu akbar. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wallahu akbar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all the viewers today for our episode in the series Our Schools, What is Missing. Today we have, as always in this series, Dr. Mamdouh Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you. We've been discussing a variety of issues around schools, and in previous episodes we've mentioned a variety of skills that are crucial to improving, and something that is improving students, and something that seems to be missing. Now, continuing that theme, today we're going to be talking about developing research skills. Doctor, research is a huge subject, and of course a very valuable skill. But you've said that this exists something about the past and it exists in the future. Can you just separate those two out for us and explain exactly what you mean?
Okay, thank you for that. The researching the past. Whenever anyone makes a research, he would try to do his best and to see if somebody else had done similar thing. So as simple as this, he would try to look into what had been done before him in this area and to see the results that they came up with. So he would take these results and start his research, and he designs his new research based on the past. And it's amazingly, you find the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is encouraging the Muslims and encouraging non-Muslims in the verses that I will tell you right now to make research and to see. For example, قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ.
So direct link to the past.
Direct link to the past. Okay, go and make research and try to find what other nations had done before you. Exactly, the research.
So what that you learn.
What other nations had done before you, so you can see what happened to them. In other words, as simple as this, if you follow the same pattern that had been done by that nation, the result will be the same. If then. So this is a very good research. So now, if you make the research and you will find that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 nations have disobeyed God when they didn't take the commands of the messenger that had been sent to them by God. What happened to them? They had been punished and they had been destroyed. And the Quran gives you lots of verses to reflect upon that. This is an example of the research in the past, so that here the outcome would be a good ability to predict. Prediction. The whole concept of prediction is based on accurate and precise research on the past, so that you will be able to predict what will happen. The people now, the researcher, would study the trends of the customers, so that they would expect if there is a new product, they will buy it or not. Will it fit here or it will fit there? It will not. So based on the study of the past, they can form some patterns and some theories, and based on this they can predict what will happen. This is the difference between a successful company and a successful nation and the other one, other option. This is some example of the past.
Okay, so how important then is it for us to work research into the skill of research into the curriculum and the working of the school, the working of the student, and even the teachers?
Again, I remember when we talked about critical thinking, now most of the new textbooks or the curriculum, they have some corner, some place in every lesson, talk about research skills. And you can do it even in the classroom. When you have an access to the internet, when you have a computer in the classroom. And that's why most of the advanced countries nowadays, you find every student has a laptop and there's wireless environment, so any student can access the internet and can get the result of the research very quickly.
So ICT here
It's very essential.
Is an essential part of conducting this. Can you just highlight this a little bit
Yes,
further?
because if you have access to the internet in the classroom and the students use it, the teacher, he's not the one to use all of them. The students can do that. It depends on the number of units, the number of computers in the classroom. So today I am using 4 students, for example. They are the ones who are making the research for the class. Tomorrow I change these 4 students by other 4 students, and so on, to give each student opportunity to work. It depends on the number of computers you have in the classroom.
I think just touching on that, I mean, you're suggesting that we should use ICT in classrooms, and however, a number of schools might not have such resources. How do you suggest to them that they deal with that?
First of all, I'm not talking really about the rich resources, but I'm talking about the effective use of these resources.
So you're assuming that there are some resources there
to
some extent?
I think any school nowadays would have at least 1 computer per classroom. And I'm quite sure that at least in every classroom there is a student who has his own laptop and who may be ready to use it in the classroom if this classroom has access to the internet. So I encourage the classrooms and I encourage the principals to use some of the budget in increasing the number of access to the internet in every classroom. So this would give the students opportunity to develop practically in every lesson their research skills. So they would be able to get the information very quickly. I can give you many examples in many topics. Let's say that the teachers are studying history. And the history is about the topic of Moses crossing the Red Sea. Did he cross the Red Sea or did he cross the River Nile? The teacher would raise this question. He would say that I need a couple of students, both of them, each two of them, or each group of students would work on the internet and would try to find an answer and to support their answers by, mentioning the references.
I can see you can use that as a nice reward to the students. Those good students, who are well behaved, go and do the research for us.
Do the research in the classroom while the teacher is keeping these other students with different tasks and different activities. A well-trained teacher who knows how to use these things effectively, the key word here is effectively, we will get a lot of fruitful outcomes from that, and the students will be able to do research that. Even you can do this at home, here in the classroom, or you can ask the students to do that at home.
Which brings me to my next point, because you've talked about fitting that into the curriculum for the teacher. But obviously the skill of research has its application beyond that and into the actual general work of the student that he's producing in his homework. Can you give us a bit more about that and tell us how he can benefit?
The homework itself, some teachers now, I still remember the old days when we used to make a mistake. This is a personal experience where the people who lived in my generation, in my country, would understand what I'm talking about. When we used to make a mistake and we'd go to the teacher, and the teacher would try to discipline us or to punish us, say it whatever way you want, and he would say that, okay, go home and copy this page 4 times. I think it's a crime. I think it's a crime. Had I had the power to say it at that time, yes, I would say that this is a crime against the students. Yes, they made a mistake, but they should not be disciplined by this. Just spending 1 hour trying to copy 5 pages or 1 page 4 times, it just kills your brain, kills your thinking. You could have done a better job than this. You could have asked me, because you've done this, I want you to make a research to tell me to answer these questions. So see the difference.
So you could say we're turning it into a positive thing.
Yeah,
here, aren't we?
absolutely.
Yeah.
He can use it into a positive thing. And he would teach me how to make research. And he would make me benefit from this hour instead of just copying it as a punishment. And I didn't care about the punishment, but I cared about the time because I could have used it in a different way, in a better way. So nowadays you can ask the students when they do some assignments at home, make part of the assignments research. And the research is not necessarily, right? You can do it on the internet. You can make research, practical research in the environment. Okay, I want you to go and to spend, let's say that, to visit 4 shops and to tell me, to ask the grocer or the person who, a salesman there, what is the most saleable product in their store.
I think this is an important point because a lot of people will think, especially students who are sort of instructed to do research, it is go to the internet, cut and paste, and literally, I think this is one of the dangers, perhaps.
This is very good. Yeah. When we ask students to make research, unfortunately, because the teachers don't know the essence of it and don't value it, they allow the students to go and cut and paste and to produce 5 or 6 pages or 20 pages and very well nicely decorated and presented. But there is nothing in it. It's just cutting and it's just stealing the work of others and putting it even without mentioning it. And there is no outcome at all.
So how can teachers prevent this? How can
they can, if first of all, they know the value of research and they are trained to do this. Of course, they will tell the students and they can make practical research in front of them in one class. They use the data show and they would say, now we have this topic, okay?
Just going to stop you there, Doctor. We're going to take a short break. Stay with us, stay tuned. We will be back shortly.
Islam Unveiled.
Who is God? Who is the Lord of Muslims? Whom do Muslims worship? And the 5th pillar of Islam was to perform pilgrimage to the ancient house of God, which was built by the angels first, then reconstructed by Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, which is located in the most holy city on earth, that is Mecca. So we believe in those books as they have been mentioned exactly in the Quran. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, have been receiving the Quran on intervals, segments by segments, chapters by chapters, parts by parts. It took 23 years for the Quran to complete its revelation. You claim that the Quran is not the word of God. How could you convince me that there is only one version?
Dr. Muhammad Salah will cover issues related to Muslim worship, creed, books, and much more. So stay tuned for Islam Unveiled.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back once again. With us in the studio as in this series is Dr. Mamdouh. And we've been discussing a variety of subjects, with specifically here developing research skills. Many different aspects to this subject. And we left just before the break discussing some of the pitfalls. Research skills, developing them is not as simple perhaps as it might be. We have the internet here. And a lot of students seem to be, you're trying to encourage them to research it, and a lot of students are trying to cut and paste. So we want to know how to prevent that. And I think that the focus has to be here with the teacher.
Yeah. I think, as I mentioned, the teacher, for example, can make model research in front of the students by using a computer and data show, and would do the research in front of the students, and would ask the students themselves to use the computer, and he would guide them. Now let's say that he took a topic as simple as the what is the product that's sold most on the internet now. So he would guide the students here. You cannot make a cut and paste here. It will become very funny here. So you need to go to, for example, eBay. The students, he would guide the students. What are the most famous websites that sell products on the internet? So the students would try to answer the question. Yes, okay, they come up with answers like Amazon's and eBay and other websites that are. So they would go and ask each group of students to get this answer. What is the most saleable product in this?
So what we're saying here, we're using a model in the classroom.
He is guiding them in the classroom.
To a specific task, yeah.
And after that, he would give them an assignment for next week, a similar assignment, a little bit difficult than this, so they would do it at home. And then, okay, by doing this, the students would know that cutting and pasting is not something good, because the other students, he did not cut and paste when they discussed the outcomes of their research in the classroom. And this is something missing in our classrooms. We don't do the discussion, and it's the teacher who takes the research paper and would just grade it, and even without looking into the details of it, oh, excellent, you've done a good job. And when you read it, it's most of it cut and paste. Even without, this is something really negative. I'm talking about the level of the university, by the way. The university level, this takes place in university. And most of the professors, unfortunately, or teachers, they would say that's a lot of work, big burden on us, and we do this. In fact, you can do it in different good ways. You can ask some students or your assistants, some students to correct the research of each other and give feedback on it. So now you're asking the other students, right, to review another research and to see it in detail and to give some feedback. And you can say that I'll grade you on the feedback. So if the feedback is superficial, the student is not given a high grade. So he would know that he has next time to go through the research and to see what's good about it, what's bad about it. Okay, so by evaluating other research, you can teach yourself how to make a good research in the future.
So there's a number of different benefits.
There are hundreds of techniques.
The teacher is not using so much time
the potentials that he has in the classroom.
The person who's marking is looking at the criteria and looking at the piece of work, and also obviously the person who's done the piece of work is also getting the feedback.
Yes, and the teacher would, in this case, would give some guidelines for all the students, so they see the guidelines, they try to apply these guidelines on the research, right? So each of them is trying to apply these guidelines. After some time, the students would absorb and would memorize and would know these guidelines. Without looking at them, they would be applying it in the research that they are making.
This is something that we've looked at before and we've talked about, which is getting that focus away from the teacher all the time and spreading some responsibility.
You see, the work
to
now
the students.
Has moved from the teacher to the student. The students are doing the work of the teacher. Why? They do that because they're successful to do that, because they got adequate training.
And in this way, the teacher is almost becoming more of a facilitator.
Absolutely.
Almost,
now you come to this now. The definition of the teacher now is a facilitator. He is not a spoon feeder as he used to be in the past.
Okay. So, Doctor, with regards to the history here, I think history's proved that research, in fact, from an Islamic point of view, we've produced many huge, progressive scientists for the time. What about the future?
Yeah. This is a misconception that people think that Islam all the time would ask you to make research in the past. Yes, Islam does this, but at the same time also Islam invites you to make future studies in the future, looking into the future. And you will find verses, many verses in the Quran and many statements said by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of them is that أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم. Till the end of the verse, we will show them our proofs and our evidence in the horizon and in themselves. What an amazing ayah. Just look at the word in the horizon. What is the horizon? Is when you see it, you see when the sky touches the earth, right? In this line, this is the horizon. When you move into it, going into the future now, when you move towards it, it moves back. When you move to it, it moves back, which tells you that this type of research will never end. Will never end. So you go make research fil afaq, and when you try to approach it, it's not there. It's still there, far from this.
It's a beautiful analysis.
It's a beautiful verse in the Holy Quran that would encourage every scientist and every teacher. He would take such an ayah like this and would put it in the classroom and would explain it to the students, and the students would all the time know the benefit of researching in the horizon, in the future. And the whole concept of the futuristic studies perhaps is driven from this. Fil afaq, in the horizon.
And Allah, of course, is wasi' bil ilm, so
He knows best. And
infinite with his ilm.
Yes,
So.
and that's why we tell most of the teachers, even if they are not Muslims, and they access the Quran, they can get a lot of benefit from it, whether it's in the area of research, whether it's in any other area. But as you can see that the research skills and developing it is connected with other skills.
Well, just before we go there, I want to ask you, just touching back on what we were talking about before, was letting the kids and teaching the kids, giving them a model of how to research, and then they go off and they almost develop their own skill as they go home and they're researching on their homework and stuff. But being responsible for children, a teacher or a parent or a headmaster, headmistress, they may be a bit concerned about the dangers of going off and just, researching on the internet. What can we do about that?
I think there are new programs and new software now. They can block some specific websites, and there are successful experiments in many countries that they block the bad websites from the whole country, which is something that I think we encourage this because we want to protect not only the children, we also want to protect the adults and everybody in the society.
Well, as we've mentioned before, we're interested in protecting the natural state.
Absolutely. This links back, goes to the original nature. And one of the jobs of the school, one of the jobs of the government, one of the jobs of the people who are in charge is to protect the natural or the original nature of a human being.
Okay, so there we have it.
Again,
many of the viewers must go out and actually find out some of these software programs.
No doubt this is the responsibility of the society and responsibility of the school.
Okay, so let's look at the benefits. What are the benefits in the long term of developing research skills?
Yeah, you see, most of these successful countries in the world, or advanced countries in the world, the number of researchers outweighs the number of perhaps the employees. You cannot live now without making research.
I think a lot of governments are doing what they call basic research,
Yes.
isn't it, on anything to learn and to progress.
Even the individual himself. I want to buy a product, right? If I don't know how to make research, right, it would be very difficult to me to get a good deal, right? But if I know how to make research and access the internet and see the different offers, that I can get a very good deal. I can buy a product at a less price, perhaps I can save 30% of the cost of the price if I bought it from a different place.
So that's researching from a consumer point of view.
Yeah.
What about from a homework point of view? What benefits are we going to see there from this research?
Again, it increases the knowledge of the students. It teaches the student how to write a good piece of work. Right, it teaches the student many skills. And again, in order to reach this skill, you need to get other skills. For example, you need to be good in the language. So this is another skill.
So language skills, I mean, particularly with
language
English becoming
skill,
so popular.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to use the dictionaries in order to get the synonyms or the opposite, in order to use the small amount of keywords in order to get to your goal in them. So you need some skills in order to achieve this research skills. And then one of them is related to science, one of them is related to eliminating the possibilities, one of them is putting something in the internet that would you exclude this thing and you would include this only, and in this way you spend less time to get to your goal.
So there's a different set of, let's say, sub-skills.
Sub-skills, you can call them sub-skills.
Yeah, contained within the overall heading of research, and that's a lot of different skills, it seems.
Yeah, because the world is complicated. It's becoming more complicated than before. So we need to do this. And this also shows something important in our classrooms. We need to make connections between subjects. So now here we are making connection between the language and between the computer and between something else. That's what we need to do. We don't teach each subject matter in isolation from other subjects.
Well, certainly that was my experience. Literally, there was no field that had any crossover. That was science and that was economics. And
one of the best practices that I have seen, that I have saw that a teacher of the Quran has a teacher of science, and they were teaching some ayat in the Quran lesson. So the teacher of the Quran would explain the general meaning of the verse and would ask the teacher of biology to explain it from the scientific viewpoint. So two teachers were at the same time, and when the teacher of biology finished, she left the class and she left the students with the other teachers. So two teachers are teaching something, and this would make the meaning in the brain of the students very important. So they connected biology with the learning of the Quran.
Thank you very much, Doctor. As ever, thank you very much for your time and your effort and your knowledge. Thank you very much, viewers. I hope we have been of some benefit to you, helping you to develop your children's skills, and perhaps if you're teachers as well, your own skills. We look forward to seeing you again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Oh, sing, children of the world, come together and hear the call. Sing, children of the world, Islam will unite us all. Sing, children of the world, come together and hear the call. Sing, children of the world, Islam will unite us all. Subhan